Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Run Live. We have got the outside and in nature edition happening today. Now, if you see me throwing my arms around, you will know that this is because we've got bees floating around and flies floating around, and I don't like it. So I will be shooing them away while we are talking. So the thing that I really wanted to talk with you about this morning, it's still, it's too bright, it's too glary. I can't do this without my sunnies on this morning, my friends. So you get the sunnied up, sunny me for sunny Monday morning. What I really wanted to talk with you about today is this conversation around alignment and creativity and fun and flow and doing all of the things. Good morning, Kate, how are you? And I think one of the things that I find really, really interesting is, for me personally, I've got these voices in my head, right? Not weird, like I'm a psycho kind of person voices, but they're nice voices, I promise. But a lot of the time, the voices that I've got in my head, I've got like chitter chatter that happens all the time. And one of the things that I've talked about a lot is that I'll have full conversations with myself in my head about whatever it is that I want to do, how I want to do it, and things like that, or what a potential outcome might be, and whatever else. And sometimes these voices are really awesome. Sometimes the voices are not so awesome in terms of, you can't do that, what are you thinking, blah, blah, blah. So I guess the thing for me is that this piece of alignment work that I do and that I do actually every day, is like really foundational mindset work. The stuff that I will work on every single day is getting past that noise, right? Getting past the voices, because a lot of the time, hi Sonia, a lot of the time they can be really unhelpful. Like you're nobody's ever going to buy that. Like, what do you think you're doing? Like, who do you think you are? Do you really think that this is the thing that you should be saying right now? Like, come on, don't you should know the answer to this, Nicola. There's all of this like jibber jabber that can happen. Now, if things are going really, really well for me, and they often are, the voices can often be a lot more positive and helpful and things like that. Yeah, you've got this, and giving me high fives, like giving myself high fives and stuff like that. It's really daggy. In my head this happens. But I guess the thing is that sometimes the stuff that is rippling around in there doesn't always come out in the way that I want. And so for me, the thing that I do first and foremost every day is I'll make sure that I'm working on my mindset. So I get up earlier than what I've ever gotten up before. I've actually got more energy on a daily basis, good morning, Rebecca, than I've actually ever had before. So I'm getting up earlier, and I'm really working on getting my head in the game. And this is the alignment. So for me, I do a breathing exercise, and then from there, it's about 15 minutes. And then from there, I'll go into my office and I'm journaling. And the thing that I journal around, and I thought that this might be helpful too, is because this is all about coming back into alignment. The stuff that I journal on are the things that I want to say, that I want to do, that, if there's no fear, then, what are you saying? What are you doing? And most of the time I don't have any fear. I'm just saying and doing whatever the heck it is that I want. Hi, Kim. How are you? Happy Monday. And I guess the other thing that I'll go on there is that we know that energy is everything, right? And that the energy that we want to bring in, we've kind of got to be putting out so that we're getting back. Because as we know, we all know this, like attracts like. So if you're feeling really like, or really heavy, or whatever the case might be, like from an energetic perspective, the more, if you don't do something to kind of like shift that and ratchet it up, then you're going to bring more of that in. It's just the way that things work. So what we want to do is get that frequency lifted, get that vibe really lifted, and get yourself into alignment. And that's what I spend time journaling on. So I spend time journaling around money. And it might sound very mercenary, but I've got this whole thing at the moment where I'm like, whatever, everything is about being unapologetic, which, by the way, starts on the 19th of October, and there's a link in the comments there for you if you feel like you need to be in that. And I think everybody should be in this, because regardless if you want to make $5,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $1 million a month, whatever it is that you want, you need to energetically claim that and be like, yes, this is what I want. This is how it's going to look. This is what it actually looks like when I've got that. So I journal on this every single day. I journal on how I want to feel. I journal on how I want to look. I journal on how I want to work. I journal on who I want to work with. I journal on the programs that I want to write, the things that I want to create. And sometimes, you know, like when I'm doing this, it's like I kind of get into a bit of a bit of a rhythm with it, right? And you'll all know this when you've experienced it. My watch just said no problem. That's weird. The thing is that you will all experience this in your life, right? When you're going through something and you're in real alignment and you can kind of almost get caught up in all of the words and you almost end up like a little bit ranty, right? So preachy. You know when you're really passionate about something, you might be talking about, like it might be my husband talking about grapes. It could be the kitchen man talking about kitchen benches. It could be like our concreter who's been doing work at our place, like talking about alignment and symmetry and concreting. And you can see he just freaking loves it and he could talk about it all day. So you guys experience this in your life, even when you're talking, right? Normally about how when you become impassioned with something, it's like we can't shut you up. You love it. And so that's what I get into, that state, when I'm in my journaling. Most of the time. Not all the time. Sometimes it's hard work. But most of the time I get into that state around really what I want. And so what happens is, like, when you're doing this, it lifts your vibe, it lifts your frequency, and then you're more likely to start bringing that kind of stuff in. So from there, that's all really well and good, right? But then, as you know, with everything, it's like you can't just kind of like get into this vibe of like, all right, this is what I want, this is how I want it to look, this is how I want to feel, this is what I want to notice, this is what I want to experience, this is who I want to experience with. You can't just kind of sit there and go, and then expect that it's all just going to land in your lap, right? The very thing with manifestation and creating the kind of life that you want and getting any kind of result, whether it's physical body, health, money, mindset, whatever, is that you've got to take action. You know, this is where like the law of attraction is all about the law of, you know, attracting, but it's got action in that word, right? So you've got to take action. What's your next required action? And for me, the first thing is, okay, fun. You know, what's the most fun thing that I can do right now? Because here's the thing. I was talking to a mentor about this recently. When I'm having fun, then I'm in the zone, right? It's a little bit like getting all caught up in the thing that you're really excited about and the thing that you're really passionate about. I know for me, when I'm having fun, my marketing flows, my results flow, my journaling flows, the words flow, everything flows so much better. It's just, you know, everything just kind of works. So alignment first, then fun. And then the next job that I have for you is going, okay, so I've got the alignment piece down. That's really awesome. And you've got to be completely unapologetic about claiming in what it is that you want. And then you get into fun, and then you get into the action bit. So what's your next required action that you need to take in order to bring these things that you really want into light? Now, and into existence. The thing that also I work on, and this is again an alignment bit, is what's out of alignment for me. Now, this can be a little bit confronting sometimes to look at, but what you've done is, like, when you've got into alignment and you're unapologetically getting into that zone of, all right, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, you know, blah, 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 you're getting into that, that's all amazing. Then it takes courage, bravery, guts, will, determination, whatever you want to call it. You've got to have a look at what's out of alignment, right? So you might not have that thing that you want right now, but if you did have that thing that you want right now, or you had that goal right now, then, you know, you're going to be operating at a different frequency. So what is out of alignment? Good morning, Emma. And the things that I look at, like they can be really simple things. Like if I've become a little bit messier, and I don't like it, but I've become a little bit messier since, we've been in lockdown for 5,000 years. And the thing that I noticed this morning, I'm like, oh my God, like I've got these like clothes sitting in my wardrobe, which in my closet, which is really like I've got quite a large wardrobe area. It's like, what? My screen just went really dark. sorry guys, I think my phone might be overheating. I'm just going to sit back here, make it out of the sun. It's like, right, well, what's out of alignment in here? And it's like, I don't have clothes sitting on the floor. Like, this is really out of alignment. This is a bit shit, Nicola, because I love being able to walk through my house. I'm very aesthetically driven. Like, I love things. It doesn't have to be expensive, right? There's a difference between, although expensive things are good, sometimes. I don't have everything doesn't need to be expensive, but everything needs to be aesthetically pleasing. So things need to be away. I like the benches cleaned. I actually really love my wardrobe being clean and, you know, things hung up and stuff like that. Might sound really silly, but if I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, well, these are all the things that I want to manifest, that I want to create, who I'm being, who I am. You know, if this is really who I'm saying that I am, then am I living this in all areas of my life? And if I'm not living this in all areas of my life, then I better freaking do something about it, because otherwise it's like it creates these almost like these barriers to entry. Yeah. So if you think about that, then how are you putting up barriers without meaning to? What have you been choosing to ignore that maybe you should really be paying attention to? And for me, the fastest thing that I can think about with that is around my home, because generally speaking, everything else is pretty right. So alignment first, then fun. And that's what the next thing that will happen is the creativity will flow, and then go and have a look at the things that are out of alignment in your world and go and do something about it. So taking action to bring those things into life. So that's literally my daily practice. I do this every single day. I do this every day before I start work, before I do my 6 a.m. call with my clients, before I work out, before I go walking, before we do kids stuff, because otherwise the day just freaking runs away with me and I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I'm at the mercy of the tide rather than me directing it. So if you want to create some really powerful results in your world, then this is literally the formula that is really powerful. You can do this with your marketing. You can do this with your websites. You can do this when you're thinking about your content. You can do this when you're thinking about your money. You can do this when you're thinking about your daily habits. Everything, absolutely everything. So that is my advice for you today. Now, unapologetic as fuck, which is, I'm so in love with this program, right? And I'm completely unapologetic about the title. This is what we're going to be working through very strategically, and a whole lot more throughout the 7 days, starting next Monday. I am ridiculously excited about it. 7 days, $77. We're going to be working on leveraging and ratcheting up everything in your world so that you can really get everything that you want. But most importantly, come back to you going, right, this is actually who I am. This is what I want, without second guessing, without doubting, without feeling guilty, without going, oh, but what about everybody else? Or I can't have that because of blah, blah. If there are things that you want in your world, if there's things that you want with your business, or if there are things that you want to create, which you're all in that boat, then you've got to really, in my opinion, get past all of the rules, the self-imposed barriers, the self-imposed rules lots of the time. So how's this? I had one of the examples that I can give you. I had this idea. So I wrote a book recently. You may or may not have heard of it, Into the Spotlight. It's published and out in bookstores and online and everything. I've been talking a lot about it in the last few months. And the thing with this is that it's really funny how my creativity works. So I have these really great ideas. I put the bones around it, and then I'll sometimes sit it aside and I'll work on the things that are more pressing or more profitable or whatever it is that it happens to be. And then this thing that I've planned almost creates its own little energy bubble. And it gets louder and louder and louder and more insistent. So then I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, I'll write you. And that's how Into the Spotlight kind of came about. And also with the push of the publisher, of course. Thank you, Leslie. So, there's nothing quite like having a conversation with someone who's like, oh, this is what I want to write. And then like, okay, yes, let's work together. I want to do this with you. And you're like, oh shit, okay, great. Well, I better write the thing. So that was how that happened. But then, earlier this year, so before I'd written Into the Spotlight, so the plan for Into the Spotlight had been sitting around for, oh Lord, like maybe 12 months. I think I wrote the plan for it at the start of last year, or towards the end of the year before, actually. So towards the end of 2018. And I didn't start writing it until 2020, this year. And as always happens, I started writing, and then I had these other ideas for a completely separate book that I've started drafting that's now currently sitting in its little energy bubble on the floor in my office, just kind of like pleading at me to do something with it. But what I'd realized last week was that I hadn't done any more planning around it before getting it all mapped out and laid out on the floor, because I was literally thinking, well, you don't go and write 2 books in a year. Like, who writes 2 books in a year? That's just really dumb. That's just really silly. Like, you've only just had the last one out. You only just launched the last one a freaking month ago. You know, that's just silly. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous waste of time and a ridiculous investment of time. Nobody writes 2 books in a year. And so for me, I've kind of gone, this is really interesting. So I'd had this rule. You just don't do it. It'll be a project that I look at next year. And then in conversation with a mentor of mine, I've just kind of gone, whose dumb rule was that? Whose stupid idea was that? Like, we can do whatever the heck you like. If you want to write a book a month, you can write a book a month. If you want to write a book a year, then you do that. If you don't want to write a book, then don't write a freaking book. You know, it's pretty obvious that you get to make up your own rules. And so this for me was like being smashed between the eyes with like one of my right between the eyes quotes, and just going like, wow, like where else am I making up these silly rules that I somehow agreed to, but nobody even told me this rule. It was just a rule that I'd made up in my own head, an assumption that I'd made up in my own head. Things like you can only launch 1 program at a time, or you can only have 1 business page, or you should only have 2 cups of coffee, or, you know, whatever the other silly rule that you should have, or that you've perhaps made up. And this is where, for me, it's like, all right, well, fuck the rules. Screw what everybody else says. I don't really care what everybody else is doing. This is what feels aligned. This is what feels right. This is what feels fun. That then opened up the door to all of this creativity, and I've just gone like bang, 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 bang. So everything now, I can see how it's all going to play out. I can see the finished product in my head, and it's just like, poof. And that's really what Unapologetic is about. It's about you finding the way for you to be able to unleash whatever it is, that next part of you, into the world, so that you can help more people doing what it is that you do, so that you can do it in the way that you love to do it, not in the way that I do it, not in the way that Joe Blogs does it, not in the way that anybody else on the face of this planet does it, but the way that you do it, because you do you, and that is all you should do. That sounded a bit Dr. Seussy for a Monday morning. Rhythm and rhyme, my friends, rhythm and rhyme. So there you go. If you've got any questions about Unapologetic or anything else, please make sure you let me know. Send me through a message. I would love to answer them for you. Meanwhile, you know what you need to do. First of all, have a rocking Monday. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. But your job right now, if you're, is to get your butt into Unapologetic, because that's going to rock your world. The next thing you need to do is get out there, go help some people, have a whole ton of fun doing it. And of course, remember, the world is ready for your brand of awesome. I'll see you tomorrow, if not before. Bye.